Okay, good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on November 8th, 2023, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name's Janet Williams, and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Channel 8 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives that are available on the town's website. It's being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of all documents for review have been posted on the town's website. So to all participants, whether you're attending by phone or online, please make sure you remain muted unless you've been recognized by the chair. If you're on a phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record before starting your remarks. If you're online and you're not a commissioner, we ask that you please keep your camera turned off until you've been recognized. You should indicate that you wish to speak by using the raise hand feature. So that we have a record of a quorum in attendance today, I'll now ask each commission member to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Karen Latin.
Present.
Bob Rawls.
Present.
Bob Delvecchio is not here today. Mary Sullivan.
Present.
Elise Gordon.
Present.
Cheryl Meservey.
Present.
And I'm here, so we have established that we have a quorum. Before we begin at the top of the agenda, I'll ask Paul Whiteman, the acting conservation agent, whether there are any requests for continuances today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to let you know I lost my internet in the office, so I'm working off the phone here.
Is he muted?
Hello?
Yes, you're here. We hear you.
Okay. All right, so yes, they're 31 Thayer Lane, William and Amanda Madar, which is the first certificate of compliance on the agenda, 10-954, will be opened, and David Clark will request a continuance date to work out some, I apologize. That's a little turned around here because I'm just trying to get back on the internet.
That's okay. Is it 2170?
No, yeah, it's the bank stabilization project, last one, 31 Thayer Lane.
I think you need to, turn off your speaker. Okay, don't mute it.
Better?
Yes, there you go, perfect.
Okay, all right. So yes, it's 31 Thayer Lane, the last one on the agenda, 10-2170. We'll open it, and David will request a continuous date to work out some historical issues in the file.
Okay,
That's it.
okay. David is
Ready?
approaching the podium.
Yes,
All right.
to ask for a continuance. We've still got to straighten out the file upstairs and see what happened.
This is one is for the beach nourishment and dune restoration project?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. There was a request from 5 years ago or 6 years ago for actually longer than that, for a certificate of compliance. A cover letter saying there's a certificate of compliance that was issued, and 3-inch by 3-inch corner of a certificate of compliance, but no information other than that.
Okay.
So we're going to backtrack and see if somebody has the original certificate of compliance back then, then we might not have to go through
There
this.
is some research to be done.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll pick a date when we get to, when we open it. All right, with that, then I'll ask Paul to begin leading us through today's agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First on the agenda is submitted for a field change request. The address is 62 Oyster Pond, Furlong, Sarah Philo, map 13E, parcel 33-22, DEP number SE103579, addition of granite cobble apron where the driveway meets the road. That's the project.
And is there also that's the description, but is there also a request for laying cobblestones along the length of the driveway as part of that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's part of it. And also part of it will be removal of the asphalt that shows up on the plan, small area of asphalt.
What shows on the plan as existing paved drive is being
Correct.
removed. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any questions? There are folks here in the audience representing the project if anyone has questions about the field change request. Paul, do you have a recommendation about this one?
I met with the proponents, and based on my review and our discussions and an examination of the plan and the materials they're going to use, the cobblestones and the removal of the driveway, I'd recommend approving this field change request.
Okay, thank you. I think,
You're welcome.
at least my sense is, and maybe people can chime in if they don't agree, that what we're going to lose a little bit of in permeability of the cobblestones themselves is more than offset by the removal of the asphalt driveway. So it's a net benefit, I would say.
Agreed.
Anybody? Any other? All right, then we're ready for a motion for this.
I move that we approve the field change request for 62 Oyster Pond Furlong.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye too, that's unanimous. Okay. All right, Paul, moving on to the next one.
Next one on the agenda,
Yeah, that was
Madam
quick,
Chair.
see, in and out, you didn't even have
Yeah.
to do anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul.
No, it's all right. Just bear with me because, as I said, for some reason we lost the internet just before the meeting happened, so I'm working off my mobile phone here.
I saw
So
that
the next-
happen, it did happen on this end, I think, so, yeah.
Okay.
It's back.
If there's a break, I'll try to reconnect.
Okay, and if not, well, just let us, give us a sign and we'll read them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the phone's working anyway.
Okay,
So the next item on the agenda is a submission of a notice of intent, 160 Shore Road, Tom and Michelle Jennings, map 16D, parcel 15-29, DEP SE10. I believe they don't have a number on this one yet. Crystal can correct me if I'm wrong when I finish. Removal of an existing dwelling and construction of a new dwelling located outside the outer aura, relocation of an existing accessory building, construction of an in-ground swimming pool, and hardscaping, abandonment of an existing septic system, and installation of a new IA septic system, together with restoration of an existing lawn with native plant species being installed. That is the project, Madam Chair.
okay.
Good
There is
afternoon.
an SE number. It's SE 10-3650.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you, Crystal, 650. Okay, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Tom and Michelle Jennings, and with me is Stephanie Sequin, as you know. Also our architect, Tom McNeil, Matt Lautenberger of Wilkinson Ecological Design, and Joe Waller of Stimson. And we appreciate Crystal's having indicated that we have the file number, and just to bring you up to date, you will recall that we had an initial hearing with you on October 11th, and then you were gracious enough to come out for a site visit on October 24th. As a result of the initial hearing and the site visit, we understood that while we thought we had a good plan, there was some things that we could do which would be responsive to some of your suggestions. You had a concern about the retaining wall of the NDZ. You were unenthused about some of the hardscape in the NDZ. There was an issue of the percentage being above the 35% requirement. There was a fence along the north perimeter and some other fencing, which had the potential to have impact on wildlife. There was a concern that some of the non-native species might not be appropriate, some of the cultivars be replaced within your jurisdiction. Even though we had proposed a lot of mitigation, there were questions about that mitigation. There was some amount of lawn in the aura, and you questioned that, and we understood it. And when we went out there, you saw an area of pretty unfortunate invasives along the north property line. They weren't strictly on our property, but we wanted to address that as well. Tom and Michelle Jennings, the applicants, as I think some of you will recall, own the property immediately to the south, and they have been good stewards of that property, and they propose to be very good stewards of 162. The plan, I think those of you who know the history of the property went out there, you know, it had a turf lawn down to the top of the revetment. That lawn is not exactly what a landscaper would like to see right now, but it was a maintained lawn, and that's going to go away. In fact, the lawn area is being reduced in the 100-foot jurisdiction from 6,900 to 2,300 square feet, and the native vegetation is increasing by a factor of 5 from 600 square feet to 3,000. But we understand that you wanted some additional changes, so we shifted the structures. The house, the windmill, and the rear landscaping elements have all been shifted further to the west, away from your jurisdiction. The retaining wall and the hardscape have been completely removed from the NDZ. There's none of that remaining in the 50-foot zone. We reduced the overall extent of the hardscape in the proposed plan to accomplish a 35% coverage limitation. We are looking for some degree of grace, also known as a variance, in regard to moving the windmill completely out of the NDZ. If we left it where it is right now, our percentage in the outer aura would be lower, but we think there's a beneficial aspect for you, for the town as a whole, and certainly for the interests which you serve, as well as Tom and Michelle Jennings, by moving the windmill out of the NDZ and into the aura. We have augmented the fence gate, the fencing to provide that there will be at least a 6-inch gap below to allow for wildlife to move within that area to enable wildlife passage. We have changed the proposed planting scheme, removing any non-native plants from the jurisdictional area. We've specified straight native species only to be planted within the jurisdiction. And there was an area of lawn at the northeast side of the proposed change, which you did not like, and we understood why, so that is going to be proposed to be replaced with a micro-clover fescue within your jurisdiction. That is a sort of an overview, a summary of changes which we think are specifically responsive to your concerns. We think that we have addressed them, and we hope that you can find that this is a plan that can be permitted. If we could, Madam Chairman, there are a number of and we did, by the way, as you know, we were able to provide you with the revised plans, I think 7 or 8 days ago, so you have all of those. So if I could, first to turn it over to Stephanie and then to Stimson and go down the road.
Yes, that's fine. I'd like to hear from each of you, and then we'll
Thank you.
open it up to questions and observations. Thank you.
Hi, good.
Okay, I see her. Yeah.
You're all set. Good afternoon, Stephanie Sequin with Ryder and Wilcox. I wanted to thank the commissioners for meeting with us out on site. I hope it was helpful for you. It was certainly, I think, very productive for us to hear your comments. And I'm hoping that you'll agree that we took all your comments seriously and have incorporated them into these revised plans. I don't really have anything to add beyond what Bill laid out as far as where we've come from the original hearing and your comments, concerns to the new plans, the Ryder and Wilcox site plan, the Stimson landscaping plan, and the Wilkinson restoration plan. I think that the combination of all those plans has incorporated all the requests and comments that you voiced, but certainly if there's still something more, we're willing to work with you. I think the only thing that I would like to point out specifically on the buffer zone calculation worksheet that we submitted with the revised plans, the proposed coverage within the NDZ has been, with these revised plans, reduced to 0. So a huge improvement as far as the existing conditions in the NDZ. The calculations show that with these revised plans, the proposed coverage in the outer aura is 2,604 square feet, or 43.5% of the outer aura. If you take that number and deduct the 609 square feet associated with the windmill and the hardscaping surrounding that, that brings the coverage down to 1,995 square feet, or just about 33% of the outer aura. So we are requesting that variance to allow the coverage in excess of 35% in order to allow the relocation of the windmill out of the NDZ and into the outer aura. So that's all I really have to add. If you don't have any specific questions, I can turn it over to Joe Waller from
Okay, before you
Stimson.
do, I'll just note that the email that contained all of the analysis that you just gave us was sent to Paul, and then from him to Karen and I, so I have now just forwarded it to everybody else.
Okay,
So
thank
I was about to ask you to read your email, but you just have already given us what the
Okay,
information in
thank
terms
you.
of the variance analysis and what your numbers were. So we now have that. So thank you. So,
All right.
okay.
Great. I'm Joe Waller from Stimson Landscape Architects. I have Abby Fuller virtually joining. She's sharing some diagrams which will hopefully visually document all of this information that Bill and Stephanie have just shared. Abby, could you go to presentation mode so that we see a fuller screen? Thank you. Could you just adjust, it looks like it's justified off a little bit, so you need to pull it to the left, I'm not sure. If it's not possible, we can stay on this screen.
Sorry, I
all
apologize.
right.
I think my screen is
I think-
too large to do
Okay.
that. One moment.
Yeah.
Oops. Is that better?
Yeah, if you just go
Okay.
back to the first page
Yes.
of the presentation.
Great.
So we all met on site. This is just a diagram of the existing conditions as surveyed and as observed during our site visit. Documentation of the metrics in the bottom right-hand corner. The site is within your jurisdiction, currently largely lawn and non-native planting. Nearly 7,000 square feet of lawn exist in the 0 to 100. Some photographs there to document it. There is mitigation planting, which will be happening, that has been approved as associated with the revetment work, which has been completed. And then there's existing beach grass within the resource area. We can go to the next slide. This was the plan that we previously proposed. Just wanted to quickly touch on, in this plan, we had a significant reduction in lawn and a significant increase in native vegetation. The reduction in lawn was over 4,600 square feet, and the increase in native vegetation was over 2,180 square feet. There was also additional proposed mitigation planting beyond that associated with the revetment wall that totaled 830 square feet. We can go to the next page. As Stephanie and Bill outlined, we have documented what we heard from you in our hearing and during our site visit. The outer aura coverage, the structures within the NDZ, preference for no lawn and no irrigation, specifically the preference for native species and no nativars. So if we go to the next page, we've looked at a couple alternates to meet those requirements. This is an alternate where, and we'll show this in a diagram, where we've moved the proposed elements, the house, the pool, the terraces, back approximately 7 feet to the west to move all of the structure, proposed new structure, beyond the 0 to 50. This shows an option to keep the windmill in its current location. In this scenario, we would meet the coverage requirements in the outer aura. So you can see on the left-hand side, our existing coverage within the outer aura is 35%. In this proposed alternate, the coverage would be 33%, as Stephanie outlined. If we go to the next plan, I think we all agree that moving the windmill beyond the no disturb zone is beneficial from your standpoint. As you can see here, this would push our coverages up higher, as Stephanie outlined, but we think that this is a net benefit. And we could go to the next page just to show you how we've responded to your comments from the previous plan. This is an overlay of our previous plan and our current plan. The highlighted are our proposed plan. Might be a little hard to read for those unfamiliar with these type of diagrams, but essentially everything is shifted to the west. We've reduced the area of pavement around the pool. We've eliminated the retaining wall that was in the no disturb zone, and we've pulled all of our fences and hardscape beyond the 50-foot setback. We've reduced our coverage below the 35% if you exclude the windmill footprint. And we have reduced the amount of lawn that we're proposing within your jurisdiction. And as Bill alluded, we're also proposing to use a microclover fescue for the remaining turf within your jurisdiction. Abby, I think we can go to the last slide of ours here. So this is just a plan showing you the proposed improvements in planting within your jurisdiction. We're proposing a reduction in lawn area of over 5,000 square feet with a proposed lawn area of 1,920 square feet. That would be microclover fescue. We're proposing an increase in nearly 1,800 square feet of native vegetation beyond what existed presently. And I'll turn it over to Matt to talk about his proposed mitigation planting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Matt Lottenberger from Wilkinson Ecological. So this recent round of changes brought what was already a pretty strong mitigation buffer here to just being, I think, a fantastic one. You've got about 35 feet buffer all along the top of the bank there that's going to be native grasses, shrubs. We're getting bayberry in there, serviceberry. This is now large enough that it's going to be able to provide a significant ecological advantage or value to the site. When we were on site, there was a lot of talk about this being an opportunity to really improve the ecological function of the area, and this is absolutely meeting that criteria. This is a huge improvement ecologically to what the current state of the property is. So, you know, just to reiterate, everything's been moved out of the no disturb zone. All of the plantings are now native, not just the mitigation that are in jurisdiction. And, you know, even our fences now are specified to have wildlife gaps, 6 inches or so to get so that none of it's impeding wildlife moving through the area. I'd be happy to discuss any of the specifics on our plan, but just as a general overview, I think this is a great chance for Chatham.
Okay, thank you very much.
If I could add just one additional point. I don't know what progress has been made by Mr. Riley in regard to license issues, but at a recent hearing, you discussed that, and we have already spoken to our neighbor to the north. He's entirely willing to cooperate, so when you come up with a form or a document, we can take that for the area that's not on our property.
Did we say we would come up with a form of a license agreement?
My recollection
Did we
is
say
that there had been discussions that
I
on
thought
another
Mr.
matter.
Riley
I think in
volunteered to do that.
Scattery, I
Okay.
think, it was being worked
Okay.
on, and we thought that we would use the same format once.
Yeah, no, that all
once-
makes sense.
Once some
'cause they're
document
both-
comes up
They're
with.
both very similar.
Thank you.
Okay, just making sure that the ball's not in our court and we're not knowing it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you for the very thorough site visit and the walkthrough of every element of this. Thank you for listening to all the points that, 7 different people were making, all sort of at the same time, but you seem to have taken all of that on board and come back with something that is very responsive to that. So really appreciate that effort. With that, I will, I'm going to open it up to questions from commission members, and I will start over on this side with Bob. Yep.
I agree. You were responsive to our concerns, and it's a significantly improved project. My eyes keep, though, getting, my eyes are always drawn to things, and the thing that is drawn to is the pool fence. And I don't understand, maybe you can explain why it's configured the way it is. In other words, the part, in fact, the southern portion of it is what I'll call the southern portion, is in the NDZ. But why is it on the seaward side of those 2 stairways? Why is that? Because it doesn't seem to me like it needs to be.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to explain that. And you are correct, there is a portion of our fence that does encroach on the 0 to 50 on the southern portion of the proposal. The intent here is to keep the fences and gates as low in the landscape as possible so that they're not visible from the occupiable area of the pool terrace, as well as being able to be concealed within the proposed planting at the lower level. So the intent there is that you would descend on those steps, obviously lowering in elevation to the area within the 0 to 50 and approach the gate, and that's about 3 feet lower, so that when you're at the house and at the terrace, you're looking over the fences and gates, and then the edge of the pool and pool terrace, that eastern edge of the pool terrace would serve as the barrier. So the fence ties in to that barrier. That barrier at the edge of the pool serves as the 4-foot enclosure requirement and then continues to the south around those steps. So that is the reasoning for the
Okay,
fence
so
being at the lower
essentially,
elevation.
it's aesthetics.
Yeah, I think it is aesthetic, so that we're not looking
Okay.
into a 4-foot fence when we're at the
So,
pool terrace.
since we're only allowed to look at things from a conservation perspective, to me, it would seem better for it to be pulled back. Well, just while we're talking about it, what happens to the part where the pool fences come back to the pool? Was there a fence then along the middle part of the
edge
pool?
of the terrace and pool is a wall,
Okay,
essentially, so that
so
is.
you don't need a
becomes-
fence
You don't need
there,
a fence
okay.
there, correct.
Anyway, I just keep thinking that from our perspective, it's unnecessary for it to be where it is, and there would be less impediment to wildlife if it were pulled back, I guess. So it's just basically along the back of the pool the whole way. So the 2 stairways are not blocked by the fence. And other than that, I think you've responded to everything that I was concerned about. That's it.
All right, thank you, Bob. Elise, questions?
I was really impressed with the changes that you made, given what Janet said with 7 of us going at you from all different directions. I understand the aesthetics of the pool fence, and I would still hope that we could not have that in the NDZ, but I will leave that to the majority rule, I think. Otherwise, kudos to you. And Darcy, yeah.
Thanks, Elise. I'll go over here. Karen?
I have a question, I think, for Stephanie. In the new plan, the existing coverage in the 0 to 50 is 850 square feet. In the previous plan, it was 833 square feet. And I'm just curious why it went up by 17 square feet, because it's the existing. It's not proposed.
Right. In the original coverage calculations, I believe we neglected to include the step outside the door to the windmill.
Oh,
And when
okay.
I was redoing them, I just happened to catch that.
okay. It was, because it was existing, I thought, how can
yeah,
the
that-
existing numbers change? You know, I was looking for the proposed.
I'm happy that someone looks at these, because I think of
Well-
all the time we spend on these, and I
There you go.
agonize over 2 square feet, so I'm glad someone checks, and it
There you
means
go.
it's worthwhile.
Yep.
I too very much appreciate you listening and pulling things out of the NDZ, because that was something that very much bothered me. I echo the concerns that Bob had. That was another one of my concerns, as to why the fence is so far out, even on both sides. You know, one part is in the 50 to 100, and the other goes into the NDZ. It just seems like they're pretty large area, and I'm just curious why it, you know, it has to go out that far.
And I think he responded to that.
Well, I think he did, on one side. Did he do the other? You know, I get
Is
it.
it same-
It's aesthetics, but
Yeah,
could
we-
we pull it in
Pulled
at
it
all?
in and both sides. I think that there is a functional aspect of this. There, you know, a
Correct.
connection on the north and south. So in order to navigate the grade difference that we have in the proposed pool terrace down to the south property line, we need steps on both sides. We have explored that alternate to not have steps there, but it's an important aspect of functionality for Tom and Michelle
Yeah.
Jennings.
Okay,
And
I
as,
just,
as for another functional aspect of the fence, and I think the chair may appreciate this, Tom and Michelle happen to have a couple of 4-footed friends. And their concern is that they not be down on the beach chasing after plovers or conservation commissioners.
You're the one who walks your dog down there.
I did, yeah, and I walk there now. I have one other thing. There's like 3, I think they're walls that you have fescue is going into, a fescue mix, I can't find it. But I think they're they're pretty big, above the pool, above, you know, toward the house.
Those
above the-
parallel bands you're talking about,
Yeah.
those are curbs, actually. They're 6-inch or 12-inch tall curbs, 6-inch wide. And so they're like elongated steps with lawn in between them. And that is also proposed to be a micro clover
Yeah.
lawn in those pieces. And you can see on this diagram here that I guess about half of that falls within the 0 to 100, and the other half falls outside of jurisdiction.
Right. So, you know, I know you've asked for a variance and everything, but those could be shortened and that would decrease a small amount. I mean, it won't be, huge, but that's another way to decrease. Just a thought. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Mary?
Thank you for listening to our concerns, and I do think that this plan definitely addressed what I was looking for, which is to move it out of the 0 to 50, and that's, it's probably in one of these 100 plans that you sent, but does the pool have a automatic cover?
It is currently being contemplated whether there will be an automatic cover on the pool.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if that changed at all, the need for fencing, if,
Yeah, the building code does allow for the pool enclosure to meet the barrier requirements currently, but that hasn't fully been decided yet.
okay. But no, I don't have any other questions.
All right, thank you. Cheryl?
I'm sorry, I missed the site visit. It was very interesting.
It was.
But it is a big difference, and so I appreciate that you were flexible and worked with the things we were looking for. But I have no other things that have not already been covered. Thank you.
Okay, Anybody else? Anybody on the platform or on the phone or in the audience here have any questions or comments? Seeing none, okay. So I think I guess the question is what your timing is, and I think we have one outstanding issue. I mean, I hear you about the fence location and the aesthetics and the dogs and everything else. We do have a policy of keeping pool fences as close to pools as feasible, so they don't turn into property fences, which we have seen. This one does come out a bit far on both sides. So I don't know whether there's an opportunity to respond to those concerns by pulling it in a bit.
We could certainly speak to the homeowners about that. In terms of timing, we have Historic and Zoning Board of Appeals in the future. We specifically did not file with the ZBA because we have to have an accurate site plan, so we
Right.
needed to have the site plan approved by you. I would anticipate we would not be in front of ZBA probably until January. So if this board would like to continue the matter, to allow us to talk to Tom and Michelle about what I think may be the only remaining issue, we could do that, and then you could then continue until after ZBA, which would be in January.
Right, we could do that. And the other aspect is the extent of the mitigation area, depending on what happens with the abutter and getting a license agreement, because that would enlarge the mitigation. So both of those can be revisited in between now and,
Yeah,
I don't know.
November becomes somewhat
It
complicated.
becomes incredibly complicated, and then
So-
suddenly everything picks up tremendous speed, and then
And I
it's
don't know what
January.
your first or second hearing in December would be. Either would be, I think, acceptable to us.
We have the 6th or the 13th.
Any preference? Six should work for us. We will go forward, file with ZBA based on the site plan that you have seen. And when we come back to you on December 6th, we will have a ZBA date. So you will be able to know to what date we would then you would need to continue
Right.
to write an order.
And the location of the fence on the plan is something that you need to have in place before ZBA reviews.
I don't think ZBA would be particularly
No?
concerned
Okay.
with that.
Okay.
Unless it's within the sideline setback. But
Okay.
it's something, if there is some marginal change, we can address that with ZBA.
Okay. All right. Then if there are no other questions or points, we'll take a motion to continue this to December the 6th.
I move that we continue 162 Shore Road to the meeting on December 6, 2023.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye, so that's unanimous, and we'll see you back.
Thank you.
again on
We
December 6th.
appreciate your attention and time, and again, coming out to the site plan, and we also are grateful for your acknowledgement of the responsive changes, so thank you.
Yes,
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate that.
Yep. Thank you. All right, let me see if I can get Adobe to work in any way at all. I'll take anything. Oh, what? I do not look at new documents. Okay, there's
Gave me two. Yep, we have them.
No, you start. All right, Paul, we're ready to move on to the next one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is 46 Scattery, Notice of Intent, Carol McDonald, trustee, map 16J, parcel 28-9. It now has an SE number DEP 10-3655. Proposed work consists of the placement of a single-family dwelling with a new single-family dwelling. That's the proposed project.
Good afternoon, Bill Riley on behalf of Carolyn McDonald, who's here today. This is a property that's been in Carolyn's family for actually over 100 years. And they want to convert this into more generally usable structure. Dave is going to explain the conservation issues that are outstanding. We will be going to zoning, but we have not yet filed.
Thank you, Bill. Good afternoon, everyone. David Little from Ryder and Wilcox. I'm here with Teresa Sprague, along with, in the next to the last row, Steve Nickerson, who is Carolyn's builder, Carolyn McDonald sitting next to Steve, Cece Camilleri, who works with Teresa, and then additionally, the architect, Kenny Nickerson, who lives in Vancouver, is attending via Zoom. So
Welcome, everybody.
we have provided you with a site plan, a coverage calculation sketch. Teresa provided you with a landscape and mitigation plan, a land management plan, and a wall and steps detail. In the package, you have the performance standards review, 2 variance requests, and an alternatives analysis. So the Carolyn proposes to demolish the existing dwelling and replace it with a new dwelling. Almost the entire dwelling is located within the NDZ. The new dwelling will be larger than the existing, but the majority of the increase occurs in the outer aura. The proposed total coverage of structure and hardscape in the outer aura is 38.1%, just slightly over the 35 of your new threshold. And the variance was submitted being requested to exceed that pursuant to section 4.01. All of the hardscape within the outer aura occurs over previously disturbed areas. Additionally, we are proposing new construction within the NDZ, and we've provided a variance request for that as well. We have a very small amount of upland on the site. The site itself is 1 acre, but we only have 9,572 square feet. The existing dwelling constitutes 995 square feet, and the new dwelling is going to be 1,431. So by all standards, what we're proposing, what Carolyn and her architect are proposing, we believe is still a very modest dwelling. We're maintaining the existing number of bedrooms. We're just providing a little bit more living space via expansion of the second floor and an expansion toward the north of the property. We also have to go before the Board of Health for variances because we literally can't fit a septic system on the site over 100 feet away from the resource area, as is required by their regulations. So we're going to be filing several variance requests with them. We're holding the septic system as tight to the north property line as possible. The architect has made changes to the building so that where the expansion is occurring near the septic system is on a slab, which allows us to go go closer to the building than we would if we had a full foundation. The state is going to adopt the Mass Stretch Energy Code soon, and that essentially will result in houses like this to be totally rebuilt. The purpose for that is to become more energy efficient, using less carbon, and the regulations are such that it just precludes trying to reuse this building, and I noted that in the alternatives analysis. The new dwelling maintains the existing setback to the top of the coastal bank. And it's generally within the footprint of the former dwelling. If you've noticed on the site plan that I provided you, in a red dashed line, we show the existing dwelling to try and make it clear, and then the black darker line is the new dwelling. We stake the limit of work at the site, which follows the top of the coastal bank. Fortunately, at that end of the house, it's a slab for a garage. So we will only have to dig down 4 feet for frost footings for the garage. So we can do the construction work that close to the bank and restore it when we are done. I think, other than that, the expansion's really occurring within the footprint and over previously altered areas. Teresa has really done the heavy lifting on this. I think she's come up with a fantastic mitigation and planting plan, which, as you're aware, is needed to overcome the presumption of adverse impacts, and we're hopeful that you believe what she's done will do that.
All right, thank you. Let's hear from Teresa and her associate.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design, and I'd like to introduce Caitlin Camilleri, also known as Cece, who has been working diligently behind the scenes with Blue Flax Design for the past year, over a year. And this is your first opportunity to meet her, but you have certainly been seeing her work as we've been presenting over the past year. Just a brief overview. I'm going to talk quickly about the existing conditions on the site, mainly as it pertains to vegetation. And then I'm going to be addressing the goals for access and circulation, and Caitlin will be addressing the mitigation. So we've got a steeply sloping site, as you know, it's north to south. The vegetation on the site, we have some native species, but we're looking at about 80% invasive cover on the coastal bank and within the 50-foot buffer zone. I'm going to jump right to Goal 4 on our goals and objectives page and talk about the need to improve access and circulation. So our plan is presenting, we've proposed some terraced walls to provide safe access and circulation from the lower parking area at the garage up to the landing that leads to the deck and the front door. We've looked at a lot of opportunities here for terracing. Ms. McDonald's goal to really minimize the amount of hardscape on this site, including structure and terraced walls. So we've reduced those walls to the extent possible to allow stepped up steps from that lower parking area to the landing and to the deck at the main entrance. In addition to that, as far as hardscape, we are proposing a permeable walkway from the northern parking area, which is over the existing septic, to allow safe access to the door that leads to the master bedroom area. And we are proposing a permeable patio to the west of the structure to provide some outdoor living space, room for a rinse station, and for things like a recycling and trash access, and room for a patio table and a grill. We've designed all of this with the intention of maintaining as much of the existing vegetation as possible. There's a large cluster of existing rhododendron on the northwest corner of the property, provides significant screening between this property and the property just to the north. So we worked diligently in order to protect that existing rhododendron stand, so that we do not have to remove that in order to get the wall and the patio as well as the septic system in. So the site has really, the grading on this project has really been keeping in mind of minimizing the amount of hardscape, maintaining a slope that's, while it is still steeply sloping, maintaining a slope that can be vegetated to help slow water down and infiltrate water. All of the vegetation that's proposed within the foundation planting is native, 100% native within the 50-foot as well as within the 100-foot buffer zone, with the exception of the existing rhododendron that's on the site that will remain. The planting to the west of the property, again, designed to help slow water down as we're coming down that steeply sloping area. And then Caitlin will discuss what we're doing and proposing on the coastal bank and at the top of the coastal bank for mitigation.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. So on the coastal bank, between the coastal bank and the edge of wetland, we're proposing 12,144 square feet of mitigation. The majority of the vegetation in this area is comprised of bittersweet, shrub honeysuckle, border privet, and multiflora rose. The top of coastal bank currently is in poor condition, and sedimentation and erosion occurred due to the steep slope of the bank and the sparse, mainly invasive vegetation, which do not hold the bank as well as native plant species do, which causes soil on the bank to wash away during heavy rain events and add sediments to the wetland resource area below. We're proposing to remove the invasive vegetation and seed and blanket the slope to help reduce the erosion and stabilize the bank. We'll then plant native vegetation, including sweet fern, winterberry, bayberry, fragrant sumac, to name a few, vegetation that's well adapted to the windy, steep, sandy conditions of the site. And they'll provide important ecological functions, including bank stabilization and increased stormwater infiltration. I would like to point out that we are proposing to remove 2 invasive sycamore maples close to the top of Coastal Bank, and proposing to replant them with 3 red maples at 2 to 3 inch caliper size. And there are oak, black cherry, and eastern red cedars along the bank, and they will remain. Some may need to be regeneratively pruned due to the amount of invasive species material we encounter there, but they will not be removed from the resource area.
I think one of the other points to this is at the top of the coastal bank and dealing with water and runoff and some of the erosion that we're seeing just over the top of the bank. Because of the site conditions that David's already discussed, we don't have an opportunity to create an expanded or widened vegetated buffer at the top of the coastal bank, but we are proposing to plant more densely at the top of the coastal bank to help slow some of that water down. The driveway is proposed to be permeable surface, and the any of the lawn that's proposed in the area will be a fescue microclover lawn, to help with some of that absorption. So we're really trying to plant that top of coastal bank very densely in order to help slow some of that water down as it's heading over. So I think you'll see just above the top of coastal bank and then right at the top of coastal bank itself, on the coastal bank itself, we've got dense woody vegetation as well as deep-rooted native grasses and wildflowers, and we've listed the native grass and wildflower species on our plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Before I open it up to questions, I just want to observe that a couple of things jump off the page when you look at this plan, and they're related to each other. And so one of them is the significant amount of increase in coverage in the no disturb zone, 1,400 square feet, which is almost entirely the driveway surface. I recognize that the house is not increasing significantly in the NDZ, but there's an incredible amount of driveway proposed, and I think part of that relates to the overall issue, which is why isn't the house moved further out of jurisdiction, further back from the coastal bank? I understand, I hear what you're saying about planting the top of the bank densely, but the way it is now, there's really, it's only one plant. It's not deep enough to constitute any kind of a vegetated buffer strip, and there is erosion coming from the top of the bank. So, yeah, well, I guess the question is why can't the house be moved to the north and free up make this area more available for planting?
So, as I mentioned earlier, the Board of Health, or the Health Department, requires septic systems to be located 100 feet away from the resource area or the top of the coastal bank. That's on the neighbor's lot. We have no place on this property to site a sewage disposal leaching facility other than on the north side of the dwelling. So, we're asking for variances both from the property line and to the dwelling itself to site the septic system in there. So we don't have the opportunity to move the dwelling further back, because right now we have a cesspool. This could be looked on as an environmental benefit, going from a cesspool to the leaching facility, but because of that, we don't have the opportunity to pull the building back. And additionally, the property's been in Carolyn's family for 90-some years, and 200 years. And the way it's been used, they had grass driveway, grass parking, as with a lot of older,
it still is.
older properties. So what we're trying to do is create a permeable surface that can be driven on, but will still allow the stormwater to infiltrate through it. So we don't really have alternatives. I mean, we can, I went through that in detail in the alternatives analysis. There's no, we've been working at this for many, many months. And I will say it's been a struggle between all of us. We've all had that separate ideas of how to pursue this. So in doing so, I hate to bring up the obvious, but fortunately, we can rely on improving the site to offset the negative impacts here. And I don't think we're creating any new negative impacts for the site, considering the majority of Teresa's work is on the coastal bank, south of the dwelling. The site itself, as you can see from that picture, is Cape Cod lawn. The one rhododendron in the northwest corner, Carolyn was adamant about keeping that. We've kind of designed, we've tried to keep that one spot that provides not only her, but her neighbor and another neighbor with a little bit of a buffer. So we just didn't put this on a piece of paper and bring it in.
We do appreciate that, we do. Who's controlling the sharing? Could we see the site plan, please? Oh,
it's us.
Oops. Jumping, since you were talking about, when is the sewer actually expected to come
to this area?
this area?
I have no idea. Dave, do you know by any chance? Dave Clark? When sewer might be coming down Scattery?
No.
I mean, I'm sure it's
Not in
within
our
90
life-
years,
Not in our lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
25 years.
So you can see that the,
You can't walk away from, you can't do that.
forgive me.
There's a laser pointer somewhere, there's a
So,
laser device if you.
We have set property line setbacks, we have setbacks to building. We're asking for variances to both and citing it as northerly as possible. And also trying to save that one rhododendron in the northwest corner. So,
Right.
we're really trying to work within what's already disturbed.
Here comes the, so, I'm gonna sneeze in a second. I get that. I guess the question I had when I looked at this was, since putting I presume when you say permeable, it's gravel or shell or some combination of gravel shell that will allow infiltration of water through it, right?
Yes, so it'll be, believe some combination of gravel shell and permeable pavers.
Okay.
So that there's an opportunity, because it is fairly steep, we do want to make sure that cars driving up and down aren't causing gravel and shell to migrate down the slope. And really, the purpose of improving the driveway, and I'm using improving in air quotes, is really for safety. Because it's just an uneven dirt driveway. The driveway itself in the parking area is actually not expanding at all. It's just that it's currently a mix of grass and clumpy grasses and dirt, and that there hasn't been anybody living in this building for some time, so that it's not being used regularly right now. Once it is used regularly, if it's maintained as dirt and grass, it will just be ineffective. It'll become compacted, and then it won't be permeable.
Right.
Yeah.
Janet, I do have one thing I'd like to add to
Yes.
your comment. There used to be, off this end of the building, right here, the existing building, which is in red, there used to be a large handicap ramp that went like that.
Saw pictures of that.
I did not, for obvious reasons, I could have included it in the coverage calculations to remove the numbers down. We removed it when we did the test holes. We didn't put it back for obvious reasons. So I could skew these numbers by.
That's okay, we don't.
Well, no, I just wanted to point that out.
No, I appreciate that, you could have left it there and that would have changed the numbers. My only question here was, since putting a gravel driveway over the leach field is okay, because it still gives you, why couldn't the leach field have been turned to run in north-south underneath the driveway, freeing up that area where the house could be pushed back?
we're balancing, it's a balancing act with the health department. I think probably the most difficult variance is siting a leaching facility within 100 feet of a resource area. It's much easier to grant a variance from a setback to a property line or a setback to a slab, but when you're looking at water quality and protecting the resources, I think we cited it that way for
So
exactly.
that's the furthest you can put it
Yeah.
away from the resource area, and if you turned it, that part of it would be closer.
Yes.
Okay.
I can tell you, there were conversations about changing the orientation. And David just said it wasn't possible to do with the Board of Health regs.
Okay. Since I'm
And
having
it doesn't show on our plan, but the existing cesspool is right near the top of the coastal bank. So it is a significant environmental benefit.
Oh, well, I agree, that's terrible.
Is that where there's a stone marker that says cesspool?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having an attack, so I'm gonna turn it to Karen to ask questions while I sneeze.
So I too was concerned about the amount of driveway. And given that we can't move the leach field any place, do we really need that area since you have a larger area, you know, where I think the garage and everything is? And I understand that this has been in existence, but now it'll be more defined. And couldn't we just cut off the part that goes up over the leach field and is I assume it's for parking. So that would remove some of the area that is a concern.
Could we look into, what were you saying, Teresa?
I was just, the only thing I was thinking, so because it's over the leach field, the only thing that we can put there vegetation-wise would be grass.
Right.
So we wouldn't be able to put any significant vegetation in that area. We
Right.
could potentially look at grass pave, so using a grid system underneath and planting the grass into it. We just we can't plant anything that could potentially grow roots into the leach
Oh,
field.
no, I know
yes.
that, but, you know, that point even,
You know, given your concern, Karen, perhaps we could look at more of a drive that has grass pavers in the vehicle tracks.
Oh, yeah.
And so it ends up having it would be the fescue that Teresa's proposing. I
Right.
think, we could look into that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we could probably improve on the numbers.
I would appreciate it because it is quite a bit of driveway, and if we can improve, I mean, that's an area, I know you're very constricted. This is a very tough piece of property. And I appreciate what you've done, but if we could at least, there's a lot of driveway in this.
Oh, understood. We can look at that.
Okay, thank you. That's my concern.
Okay, thank you. So let me just clarify, are we talking about the length of the driveway?
I'm gonna look at the entire drive.
Okay,
And see what we
that's
might be able to accomplish.
Fair enough, thank you. I think that would alleviate a lot of the concerns that we have up here. Mary, any questions? What, we're okay.
So now so what is the fence that's proposed?
There's an existing split rail fence at the top of Coastal Bank. Currently, it's really to prevent people from falling over the edge of the bank.
Okay.
And we would propose to maintain that. We would just move it in front of the proposed mitigation planting. So it's really for safety.
But it could also
Split
act
rail.
as demarcation.
It could
Because you have
absolutely
a
act
bit
as
of- There's a
demarcation.
bit of lawn, right, between
There is a
those
strip of
mitigation
lawn.
planting and the house.
We are proposing a strip of lawn in that area. We could also look at widening that vegetated buffer. It's really not going to be enough to make a significant impact, but we could certainly do an extra layer of planting in that area.
but it's still gonna be a split rail fence, so.
We would, we would recommend a split
so
rail
there'll
fence.
be
Obviously, there'd be
access
no,
for the,
no wildlife impediment and really just to visually keep people away from the top of the bank, particularly where there are cars parking and coming down that driveway, just as a visual mark.
I think you guys did a good job with it. It's a hard project.
Cheryl?
I just want to say, I actually appreciate the parking area up high as far as access into your house, because otherwise you only have access from down at the garage level, which is the basement level. Is that correct? So I appreciate that you have that parking up, because I can't imagine carrying the groceries from down below where your kitchen is. The other thing I wanted to mention is I love the staircase terracing kind of that it goes up the hillside. That is just a really nice way of softening the presentation of this house too, so that it makes it kind of nestle in a little better. So I do
Yeah, no,
like
they
that,
don't.
and that breaks up the side of that house, so it's not just gonna stare at you across
Oh, no, there it is.
the driveway.
Yes, agreed. I originally, there was one original proposal that showed retaining wall running all the way from the south side up to the north side of the lot, and Ms. McDonald was adamant that that was not acceptable, and so we've worked on minimizing that to the extent possible. Thanks.
I appreciate that.
So we have a clarifying question. Is there a garage, and is the deck elevated above the
Yes,
entrance? Because
exactly.
we're looking at the planting plan, Bob. The mitigation plan shows, it shows deck, and then behind the deck is the living room. So is the living room on a second floor, or is the deck in the living room above the garage?
So the deck is over the garage, correct? That's correct. So, yes, so it's a drive-under garage, and the deck is over that.
That's gonna be the same
Off the
then.
garage, the cars drive in
So the-
under, and then you walk up like that.
Yeah,
Okay, so the current configuration of having the garage under is gonna stay?
it's going to stay.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's
And
the
you-
living room above.
And you said that's a slab. That's not that's just a slab under the garage.
Right.
And that's what allows us to construct this so close to the bank. We just need to dig for a frost footing.
Closer.
All of the work can be done from the landward side with very adequate protections of the resource area.
Okay. Questions over this side? Bob?
Well, I think the driveway in the NDZ has been beaten to death, but I will,
We can do some.
I'll pile on. When I looked at the property, I thought, well, actually, I didn't know there was a garage there. I see a deck, but I didn't know there was going to be a garage there, so.
It's
that-
just like the photograph that I passed out.
Yeah, yeah. I just didn't, in looking at this, I said,
Right.
oh, maybe the garage, they're not gonna have a garage or something like that. So then, in that same vein, I was thinking, well, why not just put the big parking area over the leach field?
Hand up.
And then reduce some of the stuff down at the bottom and add, thicken the VBS. And from an ecological perspective, that's what occurred to me, so that's all. You wouldn't have to move the leach field
She
to
didn't
do
give you
that.
hang up.
After hearing everybody, I have some thoughts on
Okay,
the
all
driveway
right.
that I'd like to work on and share.
All right. Very good. I think that's all I had.
Okay.
Yep.
Elise?
What are the steps made of?
We're imagining the steps will be granite.
Okay.
Yep.
Otherwise, everybody's covered any questions I had.
Okay, let me just check and see. VBS, and okay.
Do we want to see if that person's hand?
Yeah, we're seeing a signal of a raised hand on the team's platform. Is there somebody who has a question or a comment? Doesn't have a name.
Yes, hi, this is Jay Savely. I'm the abutter, the owner of the property to the north of the
Okay,
site.
I'm sorry, can you say your name one more time?
Yes, it's Jay Savely.
Okay,
And my question is, I heard two things, actually. One is, there was a comment at the beginning that the footprint of the house is staying basically the same, but it looks to me from the drawings, what is in red, the existing structure, in the dotted red line, which is the 50-foot from the coastal bank, everything north of that is an expansion on the north side of the property.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I don't know how you say it's the same footprint, because that large extension on the north is all new.
That's correct.
I believe what he was referring to was it's this footprint within the no disturb zone, and the expansion that's proposed, 345 square feet, is outside of the no disturb zone, in the outer aura.
So it's just, but it's still at the 50,
It's
within
still-
50 feet from the coastal bank.
Would be about 60 feet at that point, yep.
Okay. And then the other question is, again, talking about the proposed parking. I'm just curious, it is a lot larger than what's there now, because right, for the most part now it's grass and mud. Is the reason for the increase in parking because this is most likely going to be a rental property?
That's really not out, that's a zoning board question, it's, if at all. That's not, we don't generally inquire into what people plan to do with properties. It's not
Okay.
relevant to what we are doing. We've made the point that we thought the parking may be excessive, and they're going to look at it, at how to make it more ecologically friendly and less intrusive. So I don't think what the owner's plans for how they're going to use the property are really relevant to this consideration.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or observations? Sir?
No, not for this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that this may be helpful for the abutter to the north, that we are proposing to maintain screening, so there's a lot of invasive vegetation located currently along the northern property line. We are proposing to remove that invasive vegetation and plant native vegetation, but we're being very considerate of views and not wanting to obstruct views for the property owner to the north. The existing stand of rhododendron will remain. We'll just be doing some pruning, some regenerative and health pruning to the rhododendron, but providing screening along the northern property line, but doing it in such a way that it is not going to obstruct any views for the neighbor to the north. So I just want to be clear that we're being very considerate of that.
And what
in our
are
design.
those plantings, if you want to put his mind,
So the
that run
plantings-
along that? I'm looking at the.
Yep, so the plantings to the north, pardon me.
Along the
Pull up
line
my
are,
plan. Oh, they're arrowwood viburnum.
okay,
Yep, so a shrub.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear. But Carolyn, as you know, you've said to me in the past that you don't care about my view and you'll block it if you have to. So, it'd be nice to see something like that in writing, that you don't plan to block it.
Well,
It's on the
it
plan
is
of
in
record.
writing.
It's on the plan of record, so, yeah.
We still have two more hurdles, the Health Department and the Zoning Board of Appeals, which might be a better venue
Yep.
for this.
Yeah, when you get to views and concerns of abutting neighbors, the zoning board of appeals is the place to weigh those and listen to those issues. They are very sensitive to them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna have a look at the driveway. What else?
I don't know. Mostly the driveway.
Okay, yeah, I think, and perhaps enlarging the VBS a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Could I request to come back as soon as possible?
Yeah, when do we could,
That's next week.
no, that's not,
Yep. That doesn't.
he'd have to, yeah. The next, see, then you hit Thanksgiving, that's the problem. So the next available would be December 6th. Unless you could, if you could, get it into a plan or proposal by, no,
When do you
never
need
mind,
revised
Friday's a
plans
holiday.
by? You need revised plans by today, right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. I don't think we can do that.
Yeah, no, it's, and I'm
Well, no,
sorry,
I-
we did cancel the hearing that was scheduled the day before Thanksgiving, as we always do.
I don't blame you. So December the 6th, please?
December the 6th, we'll give you that.
Okay. I move that we continue 46 Scattery Road to the meeting on December 6th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye. We will see you back here on December 6th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That would be nice.
All right, Paul, moving on to the next one.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Last notice of intent on the agenda for today is 859 Main Street, LLC, map 13E, parcel 4, SE10. There is no DEP number that's been issued in the portal as of just an hour ago. The project is redevelopment of an existing commercial parking lot. And as everyone knows, this is the old Cumberland Farm site in Chatham. So that's the proposed project.
I didn't even notice that it's characterized as redevelopment of an existing parking lot. There's also a building there, right?
Yes,
Okay, it's just, and that's staying there, right?
yes.
Okay.
I thought we were getting a restaurant.
Yeah, we're gonna hear about it.
So,
Sorry. I do want a restaurant.
David Clark of Clark Engineering, Bill Riley, on behalf of the owners and developers of the property. The reason why the project was characterized that way is that the only portion of the project within your jurisdiction is the parking lot. And the building is staying. They're going to do a major renovation of that. So most of all the work will be outside the building. It will be redeveloping the parking lot. So that being said, the resource area is a bordering vegetated wetland located on the other side of Snow Lane. This is the extensive wetlands that go behind the old bank and down Absegami Run and then out to the Furlong. Right now, the existing parking lot is crowned about halfway in the depth of the property. Half the stormwater goes out towards Route 28, the other half goes to the southwest corner towards the wetland. There's an old failed leaching catch basin down there that's all silted in, so I think for the last 10 years, water's been leaving the property and heading in that direction. So with the redevelopment, the landscape architect and the architect and Clark Engineering worked on make overall site improvements, given that it's almost a blank slate as far as the exterior of the building is concerned. So we looked at the available room between the building and the westerly property line and the maneuvering requirements for a double-loaded parking alley. And so there was an opportunity to move it away from the westerly property line and up a little bit from the southerly property line. The other thing we looked at was trying to streamline the drainage. So we basically we're kind of stuck with where the building's first floor is, so there wasn't a lot of leeway on how to grade this, but what we did was we were going to fill that back corner, that southwest corner, and pitch the whole parking lot out towards Route 28. We showed two trench drains at the two entrances off of 28, and everything basically, with the exception of a small portion behind the building, will all be pitched to those trench drains. From there, it'll be piped back through a couple of manholes to a new vastly expanded infiltration structure that'll be underneath the pavement. Because it's a commercial project, submitted a stormwater report in accordance with the Massachusetts stormwater policy. Same report that's been filed with the planning board. Existing parking lot is asphalt paving. The new parking lot will be asphalt paving. The areas between the parking curb and the westerly property line, all that pavement will be removed. We submitted a landscape plan showing how that area will be revegetated once all the asphalt's gone. Within your jurisdiction, I think for a lot of the property, the plants that are called out for are straight natives, especially in this corner. We're going to the planning board for the first time next Monday, or this coming Monday. Other permits that are required is Massachusetts DOT access permit. Right now, I think we're in the 75% design stage on that. And these these plans have been resubmitted to Mass DOT. We haven't gotten any feedback. But for the most part, it's DOT's review are the entrances. I think that's it.
That's it. Just planning board.
Obviously with the reduction in pavement, the coverage within the outdoor is being reduced. We can't get to the 35% of your new regulation, but we're already way over that with what's there now. We've made the most improvements we can while keeping the parking the number of parking spaces where planning board likes to see it for the proposed use.
Okay, thank you very much. So it is clear when you stand there that it's an inverted bowl at the moment.
Yeah.
So the plan is to remove all of the asphalt in the back and then raise that up so that the only two, where you're directing all of the stormwater to will be the two trenches in the front?
Yes.
And their side, I looked at all the calculations. We don't get very many opportunities to
Right.
look at this stuff because everything we do is residential mostly. So it was interesting to go through it, but to make sure that this has all been sized appropriately, since you're putting all of it now
Yeah.
into those drains for infiltration.
Yep, and those trench drains are not what you typically see for either a residential driveway or a patio. They are 14 inches wide, I think 19 inches deep, so they're almost the size of what the state would call a gutter inlet, and they're, I think, can't remember the width, I think they're 20-something feet long, so they have been sized to capture the entire parking lot.
Okay, so it was the 25-year storm.
Actually, the infiltration is almost enough to infiltrate a 100-year storm.
And you're showing so you have two retention areas.
Yep, this is,
How does that work in an asphalt?
well, we're gonna take up all the asphalt.
The whole site?
The whole site, we're gonna start fresh, because it's broken up so much from even before Cumberland Farms owned it. When they came in, I believe they put in all new pumps, so there's patches all over the place, plus the remediation when the tanks came out. There's not much left of the original pavement, so it's better to take it all up, remove it from the site, regrade it, put down a fresh base, a substantial base, a modern base, and then pave on top of that.
Okay.
So these two gray circles are temporary during the construction.
During the construction? Okay.
Yeah.
And then they'll be replaced by the trenches that are gonna go in?
Yes. Yeah.
So just to make sure, so when the tanks were removed, I'm assuming that everything was remediated and the soil was tested so that when these infiltration systems go into work, there won't be any possibility of the groundwater as it moves, it's gonna go back down toward the wetland and toward Oyster Pond, picking up anything?
No, part of the site closure when the tanks came out is a full.
There's a certificate of some,
DEP's involved,
okay,
the licensed site professional that was responsible for the removal of the tanks files reports
yep.
with DEP.
I figured that, but just didn't see it, so I just wanted to make sure that that was all in place. Okay, let's start over here. Elise, do you have any questions or comments on this?
It'll just be fun to not look. It'll just be fun to not look at that ugly building anymore when this is done. I think the trenching is fascinating. I'm with Janet on being able to look at a commercial commercial site. I think the plantings and the plant choices look okay to me. Clearly, it's a different challenge for us to look at. There's no trees coming down, and it's, you know, it's a pretty straightforward program and planting. I just hope that the restaurant's successful. That's, I didn't see anything to object to
Okay,
from my
thank you.
perspective.
Bob?
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything negative just because I don't want to jinx a new restaurant in town, but there is a gigantic tree on the left side. Is that outside of our jurisdiction?
I think there are 2 willow trees in that southwest corner.
Is that what they are? But-
And I think he's calling them out to remain.
Oh,
It says
Yeah.
2 maples in our
Oh,
area
is it
are to
maples?
remain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
no,
When I was out there a couple of weeks ago doing perk tests, there was no leaves on them, and they look like willows to me, but.
well,
All right.
I'm not sure about that because, you know, the plantings on the left side over there don't show a humongous tree.
There's great big, 2 big circles.
No, I'm talking about,
Those are
no, I'm not talking about those. I'm
Oh, okay.
talking about one, it's sort of halfway up that property line,
Oh,
maybe a third of the way up. And it's right in the middle of the fence. I have a picture of it.
Well, there are, well, I can't really tell.
Is he talking about the other property line?
Oh, maybe it's off property? Oh,
Which property line are you speaking of, Bob?
The west property.
Left.
West
West.
property?
our property line. We have.
let me see if I can just throw up a picture. But anyway, you're saying you're not taking any down in our jurisdiction, I guess, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
this just says
graphically, we
existing
show it
maples to
bigger on
remain.
our plan than the landscape architect does on theirs.
no.
But those are the 2 trees that are in the back
think this
corner. I didn't think
Yeah,
there was a
yeah, yeah.
3rd one back there.
I'll show it to you. Just give me a second. Figure out how to do this, let's see. That one,
Yeah, yeah, that's shown on the plan.
Is it?
to
Okay.
remain, yeah.
That's
Well,
one of
hard-
the 2 maples.
that's,
Yeah.
okay, got it, all right.
Yeah, it's a multi-trunk.
It just didn't seem to line up to me where it was shown on the map, but that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
That's it, nope.
Karen?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mary?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Cheryl? Okay, we're good. We will schedule this then to meet again to review an order, December 6th. Seems to be the date we're going with today.
Okay. I move that we continue 859 Main Street to the meeting on December 6th for an order of conditions.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I say aye, so that's unanimous. We'll see you back here on December 6th.
Thank you.
All right, Paul, where do we go next?
Okay, thank you. We're now moving on to the certificates of compliance. First on the agenda is 31 Thayer Lane, applicant William and Amanda Madar, trustees, map 16G, parcel K4, SE10 954. It's an old one. The project was permitting an existing pier under the Massachusetts Chapter 91 amnesty program. The pier was destroyed in a subsequent storm and was never rebuilt. The owners have no plan to rebuild the pier. I can give you just a little bit of background and then perhaps David could fill it in. It actually wasn't a pier as shown on the 91 license. It was a walkway that led out to a common beach area that sort of looked like a platform at first, but when we took another look at it, it was a common area. So David can get into the history of it when it was destroyed. And at this point, the applicants have no intention of rebuilding it. They have a valid Chapter 91 license. That's good for forever. If someone wants to come back and the heirs later on, they'd have to go through a little bit of a permitting process if the conditions change. but it would be possible to do it. So the project was built, and my recommendation would be, after David gives his historical presentation on it, to approve a full certificate. And it was built and destroyed, and as I said, there's no plan to rebuild it. So issuing the certificate doesn't prejudice in any way for dealing with it in the future. So if you want to, Madam Chair, recognize David if he wants to talk about the.
Yep, he's standing there, so I will
All
recognize
right,
him.
jumping at the bit.
David Clark, for the record, if you have any questions, but as Paul said, this was done on the Chapter 91 program amnesty permit back in the early 90s, late 80s. They aggressively went around the state and looked for unlicensed structures and gave everybody, I think it was a year to comply. It was so successful, they extended it for almost 10 years. And it was a 99-year permit, so the incentive was there for people to get their docks licensed. So the only requirement that, other than permitting plans, that DEP wanted was an order of conditions to maintain the pier. So I think that's why the conditions in this particular case were a page long, and that it was an existing dock. And the difference between the Chapter 91 program doesn't distinguish between walkways and piers. Everything's a pier. If it crosses the mean high water mark, it's a pier. Purpose is to access the water. So, but I'm not sure exactly when it was destroyed, but
That was my question, is when
the
do you-
2007 back-to-back March storms that opened up the second break basically made a dock in this location untenable. It was just cost prohibitive to constantly rebuild it. Things have changed substantially now, but it's been more than 2 years. So if they want to put it back locally, they have to start from scratch. Fortunately for them, it is in a section of town that docks are still permitted, although you can walk to Turn Island at low tide and not get your short wets on a big tide. So I doubt they would meet the zoning criteria for a new dock, so they decided to not pursue it.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone have questions? No? Okay.
I move that we approve a certificate of compliance for 31 Thayer Lane, SE 10-954.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl? Aye. And I vote aye, so that one's good. All right, Paul, next one?
Do we lose him?
I don't know. Well, we can start it. It's
31, I got it.
Go ahead,
31
go
Thayer
ahead.
Lane. Yep, sorry. 31 Thayer Lane, William and Amanda Madar, trustees, map 16G, parcel K4, SE 10-1201. The project was landscaping and hardscape construction. The permit was issued back in April of 1994, I believe. The notice of intent says construction of proposed concrete block garden with a planted brick terrace, grading alteration is necessary, planting a lawn, gardens, shrubs within 100 feet of the land, subject to coastal storm flowage, under the bylaw and under the act, and renourishing a bank beach with sand of a similar grain size in a small area that has eroded. I'm not sure if that was actually done, David, but we looked at the property. David supplied the photographs, filled out the proper forms. There's no as-built required. This is an old project. It looks like everything was installed and is in substantial compliance. So I'd recommend, and just to clarify, the gentleman that has all three of these is an elderly gentleman, found these at his home and just decided that they needed to be cleaned up for his heirs, I guess. So I would recommend issuing a full certificate. And I did take a look at it, and, you know, it's old, but you can see where the hardscape and the lawn and the shrubs went in. And Dave, if you want to speak to the sand beach nourishment issue, I didn't really, it was so old I couldn't really tell what was going on with that. But if you want to,
Sure.
if the chair wants to recognize it, you can pick that up.
That's the other one, isn't it?
Well,
That's the next one.
Yeah,
No,
this
no.
one's just the landscape and hardscape, right?
No, I'm reading from 12:01, I
01?
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the last
12:01.
one is the one you're going to continue.
Okay, so there,
This does have, there was an extra amount of work that wasn't listed in the advertisement. That's all I'm saying.
okay, okay.
So it may not be an issue at all, but as for the landscaping, the hardscape, which is, you know, on the agenda, that's all done, and I'd recommend issuing a full certificate based on the examination of photographs and what David submitted.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions? I think we should consider an amnesty program for old certificates of compliance. Clean up. We should,
Yeah,
you know,
it's hard to tell.
but you need a carrot to do that, so we don't have that. Okay, I guess we're motion then.
Okay,
Oh,
go ahead.
wait, Bob has a
Yeah,
question.
just, I mean, kudos to the owner, but I couldn't tell from the plan where the resource areas were. And when I go look at it, and I'm showing it here,
You can't.
it's turf lawn down to the edge of the beach grass. So I'm just, but when I looked at the order conditions, back then, they were, you know, like half a page long, unlike the
Yeah.
13-page long orders that we have now. So I couldn't tell whether or not the turf lawn was allowed, and even if it was in the resource area. So I don't know if you had any knowledge of this.
I think the turf lawn was there before they did the project. So it's not like they went into, given when Thayer Lane was first developed and then this house was built, I think everything was fair game, and so there was probably a lawn there before the hardscape project came along.
Yeah, and I guess the commission at that time wasn't looking at things in quite the same rigorous way we do now.
Absolutely.
Well-
It does show the lawn, though, on the
Yeah.
sketch plan for 1994, where they put in the plantings on either side.
Yeah.
I mean, even back then,
the
I don't think
resource
the
line's
commission would have allowed alteration of a dune to create a lawn. So that's why my assumption is the lawn was there.
Okay. All right. I'll stop.
Okay.
I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for 31 Thayer Lane, SE 10-1201.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right, we're going to open and continue the last one, Paul?
Yes, we already discussed this.
Yeah, we need a date.
I'll just read the announcement.
We need a date.
31.
We need the date.
Yep. 31 Thayer Lane, William and Amanda Madar, trustees, map 16G, parcel 4K, SE 10-2170, bank stabilization, beach nourishment, and dune restoration. So just need a continuance date.
So I understand that there are some complexities you have to deal with. How long do you, when do you want to come back
I'm
with?
hoping I reach out to Coastal Engineering, who handled that project from beginning to end, whether it's in their files and never got recorded. Because the certificate of compliance, so hopefully we don't have to go through this exercise. Because there's a corner of a certificate of compliance in the file.
That's just the, I mean, you keep saying that. I mean, a corner of a piece of
torn,
paper?
a torn piece of
it?
paper that says, you can see certificate, the end of the word certificate and compliance, and then you flip it over and there are typed ongoing conditions. And so, and a cover letter from the agent at the time saying, here's your certificate of compliance.
Oh, okay.
But it's not dated. It's
Yep.
just a form letter. So that leads me to believe that somebody's got the original, and if not, if Coastal has any record of actually receiving it and So.
Okay, but we just need to continue it to a date, so.
Yeah, how
Paul
about
has
this,
his hand up.
not December 6th, but the meeting after that? would be-
13th.
Yeah.
Paul, do you have something, it's 13th?
Yes, David, did you have any issues with Wilkinson on this, or did you say that to me?
I did, yeah, Wilkinson did contact me because I think they saw it on the agenda. But I think Janet and Bob, I think you were on the commission when all 5 properties along this stretch of beach did a beach nourishment and dune restoration, which basically supersedes the work that Coastal did. But the other thing I need to find out is whether the fiber rolls are still there on the north end of this property underneath the dune. I think they are. So there might be some ongoing conditions that are beneficial to the Madars to maintain those fiber rolls if they ever get exposed again, because knock on wood, the work that was done there is holding up extremely well. Everybody, all the homeowners are absolutely pleased with the way it all came out and how it's standing up to the elements.
Good, okay.
Yeah, and I did inform David of the good news that the applicants are now going to be required to write out the ongoing conditions in full on a separate page and attach them to their certificate of compliance, just shifting the burden to the applicant, as we always do. They always have the burden of proof on every element in the act and bylaw. So he's aware of that. So, and David, I would ask maybe if you and I could sit down and just go over the history of, the beach nourishment, which apparently failed and then it was done again, just so the commission has a thorough understanding of the historical actions that were taken out there before we go ahead and sign off. That's about it.
Okay,
Okay.
just need a motion to continue.
I move that we continue 31 Thayer Lane for the certificate of completion for SE 10-2170 to December 13th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, last but not least, the minutes approved September 13, 2023, September 27, 2023, and October 4th, 2023.
All
Lot
right.
of minutes.
Okay, we will review them and then vote on them together to keep this to,
Okay.
so starting with the 13th.
Can we vote, you and I don't think we're at the 13th.
I am not going to vote on the 13th.
Okay,
Right.
Yeah,
can't either.
so
That's why
I didn't
we can't
review
vote
it.
them together.
Oh, we'll have to separate all right, let's do the 13th first, because,
I know Crystal updated the intro to say vice chair instead
Yep.
of chair.
yep, that was a short-lived promotion.
Very.
A couple other minor corrections I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Anything else anybody have?
No.
All right, let's do this one then.
I move that we approve the minutes with the changes noted for September 13th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Lise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Abstain.
And I abstain as well, so 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor, carries it, that's approved. All right, then we go to the 27th.
The only thing I saw, and I don't know what the last name is 498 and 500 Shore Road. It says Representatives Raoul, and I don't know what the last name is, but I thought maybe we ought to be including it. I don't know, because I can't give it to you, so,
Oh, I do remember him, do we have?
yeah, I just don't know what the,
Yeah, 27th,
Was he the representative or was he the lawyer for the?
no, because Bill Litchfield was the lawyer. Raul Lizardi, I've got Lizardi Rivera, I wrote it down, wow. I'll put it in here.
I think you were meaning the lawyer for the other.
Yes. For the
Property.
association.
Yeah.
Raul Lazardi Rivera, Cape and Islands Engineering, Inc. That's who he is. Okay, thank you. I didn't even
So
notice
that's the
that.
only thing
Okay,
that I saw.
okay. Anybody else, anything on it? All right, let me accept all those changes. Accept all, stop tracking. Save. There we go, and 10-4.
Again, we have for 230 Stage Island Road, we have Representatives Sean from Rick Roy, no last name. And then,
Hold on, let me see. 10-4. Nope. Nope, field change, I didn't have that.
It's actually Sean, S-H-A-W-N, and the last name is Evans, E-V-A-N-S.
thank you.
That's the name of the actor from Endeavor, never mind.
And then I didn't know on 23 Wilkie Way at the very end of the minutes whether we needed to note that there was no representative present. And that's why, because it says applicant has requested a continuance, but there was nobody on that, at the meeting, including the applicant.
Okay,
So that's all I had.
got it. All right, I will accept that one. Stop
I think
tracking.
he did actually email me and request a continuance to a certain
Right.
date.
Right, he did, but I just wanted it noted that there was
That he wasn't
nobody physically present in the meeting, because we've had so
Okay.
many continuances for this property.
Yep.
Because nobody was present most of the time. All right,
Okay, so, a motion for those two.
I move that we approve the minutes from September 27th, 2023, and October 4th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl? Aye. And I vote aye, that is unanimous. All right, Paul, anything else? Any unforeseen? Anything?
No, Madam Chair and Commissioners, I have nothing that's unforeseen.
All righty.
I see everything.
Thank goodness.
I'm glad somebody
Need
does.
that.
Okay,
Not really, just a joke.
there you go. Crystal, I've accepted all the changes and saved those documents, so the final versions are in the Dropbox for you. And we just need a motion
Thank
to
you.
adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
I vote aye. We are adjourned
done.
at 2:47.
Not bad.
Not bad. Thank you, Paul. Thank you.